Archfiend. He says he's gonna do a review video of the crossover, so I can't wait to see that. Archfiend, he's one of a kind, man. So there you go, Archfiend. Giving you props for that. Maybe I'll send some people your way, but I can't wait to see that. But a couple other.
What year is it? Those of you that are longtime fans here know that my biggest rivals, if you will, even though it was a mainly one-sided battle just from this end of video making, has been the Irate Gamer, and 2 years later, after the Irate Gamer beef started, the Angry Video Game Nerd. And I've made quite a bit of content on those 2 gentlemen throughout the years, to the point now that both guys are collaborating to produce a video on the Irate Gamer's channel on YouTube. And they've actually done a collaboration before. James lended his voice to, they did the Irate Gamer and him did voices on a Puppet Steve video a couple months ago. Actually, I think it was like almost a year ago now. They lended the voice of Ryu and Ken, the Street Fighter characters, and that went like just way under the radar that they worked together on that project for just what was at the time like a 10 to 15 second little blurb at the end of a Puppet Steve video, which those of you who don't know, Puppet Steve is a character that Chris Boers, the Irate Gamer, had a separate channel where he just reviewed toys and whatnot on that channel. It's not my cup of tea, but it got a pretty decent amount of views, so, you know, hey, he was doing his thing. Anyway, the 2 gentlemen got together and seemed to have just a, I don't know what you want to say. I've only heard from Chris Boers on this, in that him saying, like, you know, things are cool, and that James reached out to him as far as doing this collaborative effort in the Dick Tracy review that was made yesterday. And it's weird in that so much hate of the Irate Gamer throughout the years could be attributed to James's fan base, the Angry Video Game Nerd's fan base. Not that James directly ever threw anyone out there to, you know, sick the wolves on them, onto Irate Gamer per se, but it was AVGN's fan base, and people like me specifically, that will just fully admit we're just all out fanboys of James Rolfe, that we attacked people like the Irate Gamer for being a ripoff of James, the Angry Video Game Nerd, and felt that he didn't give his proper due to James, didn't give his proper tip of the hat for saying I'm inspired by James, to now it's just, I think James is doing the absolute right thing in just saying, hey, look, there's no beef. There's no long-standing beef. We can work together, and it's not that big of a deal to do so. And they did just that yesterday. Now, as for the review itself, I don't want to go too much into it because I'm not here to pick things apart. I'm not here to overly compliment things. It was a fine review. It was a fine review. And if you're being honest with yourself, if there's any AVGN fanboys left out there that want to just hang on James's coattails as far as they can hang, it was as good, if not better, than anything James has produced with the Angry Video Game Nerd for the past several years. And the whole angry reviewing thing, like, it was really hot 7 to 10 years ago, and it's really dwindled off in the past 5 or so, because there's been people that have come along, and some have come along more than 5 years ago, that even when I was a full-fledged fanboy of AVGN and his style reviews, there's guys that came out and did a different twist of things, guys that were inspired by AVGN, guys like JonTron, who, when you watch his style of video game reviews, as much of a fanboy of James I was at the time, when JonTron first hit the scene and started doing the whole solo thing away from Game Grumps, I said to myself, this guy's better. This guy's just flat out better. Just the style, the humor, just the way it looked, the way it sounded, just any number of things. It was just a better production than what James was doing. And it kind of lessened the style of the exact type of video that James was making with the angry reviews, and to the other end what Chris Boers was doing, because both guys were doing pretty much the same thing year after year. And not only were they doing the same thing, but they were doing a lesser version of the same thing. And don't get me started with the whole Screenwave media type thing. And to address the people throughout the years that have been contacting me, and I haven't gotten as much contact to bring up an old topic as I have people coming to me saying, please do a review of the collaboration between AVGN and AVGN and Chris Boers. Please do some sort of review of that. Oh my God, I want to hear what you have to say about this. Because if I'm going to criticize guys for both the bad actions I've seen them do in the past, I got to do something for this collaborative effort of them coming forth to do something what they feel is good for the community, to show that, you know, that it's no big deal for them to do what they do, and that they came together for this, and that they were, and specifically Chris Boers was the bigger man to put aside years and years and years of a fan base, specifically James Rolfe's fan base, dumping on him, calling him a no-good, unfunny hack, a ripoff, plagiarist, what have you. And that James can be the bigger man to say, hey, you know what? I'll do a video with this guy. Both of them deserve props for that. But anyway, people have requested me to make just a number of videos, and I just said, I'm done with this. I'm just done with it. The whole Screenwave media thing, if you want to look into that and how that has affected James Rolfe, and how I was talking to IGSRJ the other night, which means I was talking to myself in the mirror just last night, and how the whole Screenwave media thing, and how he mentioned, IGSRJ mentioned how that James is pretty much just like a figure piece. he just seems like a figure piece, like he's being used like a licensed character for someone else that's writing and producing all his stuff now, because that's what it seems like these days. And people have come to me and saying like, oh my God, please do something about those rental reviews and how much they seem to be like a ripoff of Red Letter Media. And what are you talking about, Archfiend? Red Letter Media wasn't the first people to start reviewing films on YouTube and whatnot. If you look at this style of rental reviews and you don't see a strong resemblance to Red Letter Media and how they do things, okay, draw your own conclusion from that. Again, I'm not here to make some sort of drama out of all of that, and I'm just mentioning it because people have mentioned it to me. And people know that I love Red Letter Media, and they're right up there with JonTron for, you know, some of the favorite content makers on this website in my book. But anyway, and a lot of people have thanked me because they feel that I'm responsible for kind of getting all this in motion that led to this. Now, as much as I would love to say and have an ego and be like, yes, of course I was responsible for everything. Absolutely. I feel I'm only partially responsible in all this, because the two parties, Chris Boers and James Rolfe, talking behind the scenes and burying any hatchet, if there was one to even have between the two of them personally, that's the ultimate thing that got them here. But the people that were saying, well, you made that video, what was it, like 5 years ago, about continued hatred of Irate Gamer and how pathetic it is to still have that hatred for Irate Gamer when he's just continuing on to do his thing and people are still calling him a ripoff hack of AVGN, and how tired that is, and how I at the time had given up on any criticism of Chris Boers years before that I would notice still on Chris Boers videos, just constant, shut up, you AVGN ripoff hack, blah, 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 this and that. And just like people that were obsessed, that there's a blog that was obsessed with just talking about every little possible nuance of criticism of Chris Boers and enhancing it like it's just this big, humongous thing. Like, yes, criticism was warranted of Chris Boers. However, continued criticism of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus years of it is pathetic. And I made a video about this, to which Chris Boers made a video called The Archfiend Response. And a lot of people point to that and saying like, well, that was the turning point in all of this, where Chris Boers told his side of the story. Whether you believe it or not is irrelevant, because that was his side of the story putting out there, and his first step in saying, hey, yes, I was inspired by AVGN. I have no problem with AVGN, and this is how I feel now. Okay? It was never personal, though he felt he was wronged by James and laid out his side of the story. And whether you want to feel it's personal or not, or whatever the steps were, I don't care. The bottom line is he started the process, and people could say, hey, it was me that started the process, whatever, who cares? The bottom line is the process of healing and moving on, moving past things, whatever you want to associate with it, started there. And here we are today. They've made a video together. The Dick Tracy review was fine. Again, it was fine. I don't want to go into things. It was a fine, very type of nostalgic review to what James and Chris have made throughout the years. And I didn't want it to be this video here to be so much about that, as much as I wanted this to be a whole bookend of things for what I've said about Chris, what I've said about James. I'm sorry I've already meandered on 10 plus minutes, but those of you who know me know that I can meander on like a mofo. Anyway, as far as like being sorry for things, I absolutely am sorry for things of that I said about both guys. And I'm not going to go into detailed points, because this video would be 50 minutes and go say, well, I'm sorry I said this one thing in this one video and this one thing in this another video. But both guys, I feel I gave unfair treatment to. Just flatly to Chris for just taking things as far as I did, getting him sabotaged on the internet. That internet radio interview where I fed information to the guys, and basically Chris had no idea he was going into an ambush of sorts, where the guys were going to ask him about AVGN, ask him about being a ripoff, where Chris just thought he was just going on to just promote his Irate Gamer character. You know, I'm sorry for things like that. I'm sorry I made things so incessant, that I made so many repeated videos, and that I helped breed the culture of angry AVGN fanboys. And I'm sorry to a lot of my criticisms of James, because, you know, at the time I had a huge problem with the whole raising funds to make his movie. He's having his dream project made at the expense of his fans, when I felt that the total effort and just support of his fans are the reason why he's even relevant enough to be making a movie. And the fact that he was asking for money from fans on top of that to make the film, it blew my mind. It just completely shattered any respect I had for AVGN, and I overblew things way out of proportion, because the whole crowdfunding of a film, and like the thing that I thought it was just so ethically wrong to be like, I'm going to give this guy money to make a movie for me. And honestly, if people had no problem doing that, it's not like people giving $20 to help James finance his film and get an autographed picture in return, or just whatever the perks were at the time for his GoFundMe that he had set up. was it really that bad? Did it really warrant that level of hate from me? No, it didn't. And my aspect and view of things as far as crowdfunding and people being seen as greedy from that ends of things has completely changed. Like, a lot of those videos I've made have just completely aged poorly as far as what my outlook of things are here today. That's why I just want to spell things out as far as how I see things now. So I apologize to James and his whole fan base for how far I took things there. People thought, like, oh, you're just doing it for clicks and whatever. Like, no, I did things like that because as stupid as it sounds, I felt crushed as a fan. I felt James hurt me. Like, you know, that was partly into play for things, as pathetic as that sound. Like, you hurt me as a fan, James. Like, and like looking back, I'm like, that's so stupid. So stupid I thought like that. And I took things far enough to make just the vitriolic videos that I did about James, about Chris, about any number of people too as well. Though, again, criticism was absolutely warranted in a number of cases and a number of points that I made criticisms on. So it's not like I'm just saying everything I ever made was a complete just joke. I shouldn't have ever made it. Not saying that. But again, I apologize to James and Chris for just, I felt was unfair treatment on my end that rabble-roused fans to be against these guys. And it was unfair. It was unfair. And, you know, the fact that both Chris and James had to put up with people like me making videos that were, you know, they weren't exactly chump change videos. These were videos that were getting 100,000+ views. So, you know, it was, you know, raising a very soundable, if that's a word, a very loud rumble underneath things of their fan base that was willing to just still watch and appreciate them. Anyway, one person, however, I do not owe an apology to, and who I will probably just never, and this will be the only part of this video that gets into just drama, is Mike, the always going to be a coward Matei. I have nothing nice to say to this guy. I think he's very smarmy. I think he's very phony. And I think he always has been. Chris has said, like you saw in the beginning of this video, it was a clip of a live broadcast that Chris Boers made previewing the Dick Tracy review. And he had said he had talked, in that video, he said he had talked with Mike Matei and, you know, spelled out that, you know, I thought things were one way with you and me, Mike. And, you know, Mike said, no, we're not, we're cool. And, you know, blah, blah, blah. I could tell you firsthand, Chris, Mike was one of the biggest rabble-rousers behind the scenes. Just what he did to help get my videos against you promoted, liking them so that they'd appear on at the time, you could actually see the videos that someone liked on YouTube on the like tab, and people would say, like, you know, they found me because it was related to a like from Cinemassacre, or just things like that. Just small things that I know personally from talking to Mike Matei behind the scenes, that he was working to try and get you smeared as much as possible. So he may come off cool with you now, Chris, but I trust him as far as I can throw him. Anyway, that aside, whatever. I mean, there's so much more I want to say about Mike, so much more, but I'm trying not to make this a full-out drama bash video. Anyway, I've gone almost a full 20 minutes, 18 and a half minutes so far here. I just want to say this is the end. I mean, unless either Chris or James gets caught drowning a kitten in a bathtub or something, I mean, don't expect for me to have another word on the subject. Like, it's just, everything's done. The past is the past. The present is the present. These two guys have moved on. If you still have this just utter contempt, hatred for Chris Boers, that he's just unfunny, that he's just a ripoff hack, move on with your life. Move on with your life. So many people have moved on with their hate of me. Like, I've personally had conversations behind the scenes with, I shat on you, Cloud8745 who recently emailed me and buried the hatchet, and like the fact that I'm talking with these people, like the fact that I'm conversational with Chris Bors, that Chris Bors openly mentions my name. It's like I said in the beginning of the video, what year is this? It's nuts that a number of fans of mine that fell out of the fold, I've been getting emails just saying like, I'm sorry, I'm an older person now, and I just see that, so much of the beef that I had with you is BS, and I'm glad that you've grown to be a happily married man with a house and a kid, etc. Everyone just has to grow up and move on. If you're going to still hate the angry video game nerd or the irate gamer over any just wrong you think they've done to them, or just the fact that one guy was seen as a ripoff hack, like if you still got that much hate in your heart, then you need to grow your heart and your mind. You need to move on. I have. A lot of other fans have. Just grow up and move on. Anyways, good luck to both guys in the future. Mike Matei, screw you. Anyway, not much left to say. Not much left to say. Oh, what the hell? Let's end this with some Loco Bandito. Laugh your ass off, guys. Here's Mike Matei's greatest work. That is all.